Hello everyone friends. This is a long-awaited release about video games, and today in the review of the top 20 best games of 1998. From the enormous scattering of games of the 98th year, it is almost impossible to single out a good or bad game. Each of them is good in its own way. Therefore, we will focus on the global success and glory of each of them. Like, subscribe, comment, and without a long download, let's go. To begin with, let's remember three legendary games, from which fans are fans of car simulators and racing. Two of them are recognized masterpieces, Need for Speed 3 and Test Drive 5. Real fans of driving cool cars bought themselves both games at once, but, as a rule, stopped in their preferences and gave themselves completely to only one of them. Someone chose Need for Speed, and someone chose Test Drive 5. The latter was created in the genre of arcade car racing. 18 different tracks, legendary cars to choose from, Camaro, Corvette, Pontiac, Aston Martin, and many others. Win races, unlock new cars, get away from the cops, just a paradise for computer racing drivers. But many critics never fell in love with this creation, and gave the palm to the thirst for speed, the famous continuation of the series of races with Pursuit, the game. Need for Speed 3 inches crazy in polarity. In this version, you can play as both a racer and a policeman and compete on the tracks in 4 different modes. In the evening, silence fell in the sleeping areas of the cities, fathers and sons competed with each other at the televisions, often skilled and hardened drivers with experience, lost to young schoolchildren. And where is the third car game, you ask? Oh, you can talk about it for hours. These are truckers. For many boys of the 90s, this game defined the profession, and this is not a joke. Racing on heavy trucks in compromising trips along the tracks, created a romantic halo of such interesting work. Competitions with trucks, when you confidently drive your truck to victory, choosing the speed, carefully monitoring the serviceability of the brakes and the degree of tire wear, conquered forever. Truckers is an ageless game for all time. Somewhere in a galaxy, far, far away. The movie series, Star Wars, is very popular in the world, and games dedicated to this topic are even more so. The first-person shooter based on George Lucas's Star Wars franchise did not go unnoticed. Star Wars Jedi Knight: Mysteries of the Sith is an all-time game. Feel like a real Jedi or an Imperial soldier, explore the vastness of the universe. On January 31, 1998, the game was released on the Windows platform. Players from all over the world are excited, and for good reason. The events of the game take place 6 years after the story told to the audience in the movie, Return of the Jedi. The developers have integrated into the general canon of the chronology of the main space events, and this, for all connoisseurs of Star Wars, was very important. On the planet, Altair 5. Jedi Kain Katarn takes as an apprentice a former Imperial who defected to the side of the Republic, Mara Jade. The girl is just about to touch the Jedi Force when the Empire's stormtroopers attack the planet. Multiplayer mode. The ability to play as 2 main characters at once, interesting levels and tasks where players meet stormtroopers and the dark power of the Sith. All this pleased the players then, in 1998, and pleases them now. A wonderful game for all time, as immortal as the epic Star Wars. This game was developed by 2 world-famous computer geniuses, Naoto Oshima and Yuji Naka, the founding fathers of the world-famous Sonic. Burning Rangers, 3-dimensional graphics, simple controls, dynamics, colorful pictures, and the most modern technical bells and whistles of that time, such as motion capture or translucency effects. Having reviewed a lot of popular action movies about superheroes, such as Terminator, Superman, Back to the Future, Batman, Fire Vortex, the developers came up with their heroes, super firefighters. According to the idea of the developers, they will naturally fight with fire. Heroes firefighters from the game, Burning Rangers, had to save the Earth from the inevitable fall of the space station, the all-consuming cosmic fire, and at the same time become one of the most popular games in the world. However, expectations were not met. A third-person shooter about an elite firefighter unit was remembered by players but did not become a commercial bestseller, mainly because it was released on the Sega Saturn console of the Sega gaming platform. Saturn was far from the popularity of both ordinary computers and the Sony PlayStation console, and maybe because the characters are generally good, but not as charismatic heroes as, for example, the Italian plumber Mario. But two versions of the adventures of the world-famous Sonic were much more successful. Sonic Adventure, a game about the adventures of the Hedgehog Star and his friends in a fantasy world, where he confronts the Chaos Monster and its creator, Dr. Eggman, appealed to gamers. The game released on the new Dreamcast console was commercially successful. In total, 2.5 million copies of the game were sold, which was an undoubted success for the Dreamcast console. The next successful creation of the developers of Sonic Team, the three-dimensional racing game, Sonic R, was also warmly received. The game was released in 1998 on the Microsoft Windows platform, as well proven on the Sega Saturn console. If you have heard somewhere about the International Anti-Terrorist Unit, Rainbow, then you are familiar with the game, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and you probably played it. Remember friends, this game of 1998 could not just be forgotten. Brave guys who perform the most dangerous tasks and pass difficult missions in all corners of the world. Storming buildings, freeing hostages, countering world villains of a level no less than Dr. Evil or Professor Moriarty. In this game, the most important thing is not to shoot well and run fast. In this game, you need to plan operations competently and tactically manage your team of elite commandos, choose the right weapons, and scrupulously walk the map. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six is a great nostalgic first-person shooter. The gaming industry is very fond of fictional stories about the future, unknown worlds, aliens, superheroes, the struggle of good guys with bad, and the 98th year was rich in such games. Such an example was the game, Future Cop. LAPD, a third-person shooter of a well-known and recognized authority in the world of computer games, the company, Electronic Arts, the adventures of the robot, in the service of the Los Angeles Police Department, could not be appreciated. Even special game modes did not help, such as Criminal Wars, and Police Assault, as well as the ability to play both alone and together. All kinds of locations, a large selection of weapons, and a variety of tasks did not appeal to connoisseurs of the game universe. In total, 200,000 discs with the game were sold, which is very little for the gaming industry. After calculating the losses, the game developer's project was closed, although the game looks good 20 years later. Here is another novelty of the 98th year, Metal Gear Solid. The company, Konami, has become a bestseller. And it seems to be a hackneyed topic, again special forces units that counteract global terrorist cells. So what, then, is the grandiose success of the game released on the Sony platform back in 1998? It's about the details that define everything. A computer game in the genre of stealth action has become the founding model of this genre. There are many different characteristic features in it, for example, the ability of the hero to look around the corner, hide, and opponents can detect your presence even by the noise of steps, gradual pumping of the character, preparing him for the next mission and meeting with a new boss. The game was over well, but this year, there were more serious contenders for the title of Game of the Year. The main event in the gaming industry, Fallout 2. The second part of the famous role-playing game was released in 1998. A game in which your chosen one character can decide for himself which ways he should go along the plot. To do good deeds or bad deeds, the game itself forms the karma of the main character, the atmosphere, and attitudes towards the character, as you progress through various quests. Fallout 2 inches. We think the words are superfluous and every player understands that there are very few such masterpieces in the world. Worms 2, or Combat Worms. Excitement and fun were provided to the players. They played with whole departments and even offices. They played everywhere. At work, at home, at a party, and of course, in computer clubs. The girls and wives of the players were indignant. What is interesting about these cartoon and flat creatures? They didn't understand anything. Worms gunners, an immediately exciting game. The battle of the worm teams with each other took place with the help of a variety of artillery weapons and all kinds of cannons, rocket launchers, howitzers, and grenade launchers. The most interesting thing is to set the amplitude of the shot correctly and enjoy the result. Boys and girls of the 90s. Your time has come. There is probably no such person who would not have played in the 98th year in the mega popular games, Spyro the Dragon, and Crash Bandicoot 3 inches on the Sony platform. Amazing adventures of a dragon and a bandicoot, in our opinion. A marsupial badger, a little like a fox cub. Indeed, these two games were extremely popular, both children and adults played them. Bright graphics, like in cartoons, favorite characters, music. Spyro the Dragon, traveling through the worlds, collecting crystals, helping the locals solve their problems, smashing obstacles with his forehead, flying, and spewing fire. Cute Crash, a marsupial badger from Australia, has been familiar to players since 1996. It was then that they fell in love with him. And here is a new game, almost a new Crash, easily overcoming obstacles, smashing boxes, and sweeping away all enemies from his path with his swirling branded top. Jumping up like a real superhero, he is always at the epicenter of adventures. The games, Spyro the Dragon, and Crash Bandicoot 3 inches for 1998 were great. Whether they are still masterpieces now is up to you to decide. Write your thoughts in the comments. In 1998, not only quests, shooters and arcades entered the market. The year has been pleased with wonderful game strategies, especially since there are plenty of fans of this genre in the world. Classic real-time economic strategy, Knights and Merchants, The Shattered Kingdom. But in our country, this game of German developers was known by other names, the most famous being War and Peace, and, of course, Divide and Conquer. The Middle Ages. Intrigues, conspiracies, fragmented kingdoms resisting barbarians. The players had a place to turn around. The main thing is to save resources, develop your military enclave and take care of warehouses. Medieval residents were also amused, who immediately stopped working and refused to fight if they were not fed in time, or if they ran out of supplies. Just like in real life. Since we're talking about strategies, then we can't help but recall the main world game of this genre in this year for all time. In 1998, Age of Empires, The Rise of Rome, was released. The game was released for personal computers on the Windows platform. The players were transported to the era of antiquity. The rebirth and decline, the heyday of Rome, and its military victories. The Age of Empires is an unsurpassed historical strategy of all times and peoples. How many endless hours the players sat at the screens, going through the plot twists of this historical saga, playing Mongols, Huns, Franks, or Indians. Age of Empires will forever remain a model for strategy games. In October 1998, the studio SCE Cambridge Studio, under the brand Sony, released a new game. MediEvil Computer Horror was released on the game console, PlayStation. The toys supported an analog vibrating joystick controller, DualShock. The game is about a knight who rose from the dead and engaged in a fierce battle with an evil sorcerer. Just a terrific plot for horror movies that is simple and crazy at the same time, but if you approach the heroes of other computer games thoughtfully, then this story looks quite decent. First, the dead knight fights with enemies using his hand. Yes, he takes it, tears it off, and throws it at enemies, and only later finds another weapon with ammunition. Having defeated all his enemies, he fills a golden cup with their souls. How do you like this course of history? This is for a second a game played by thousands of boys around the world. It's just a chilling story, but strangely enough, young and adult players were not at all afraid of necromancers, gargoyles, skeletons, sorcerers and dragons, and critics, on the contrary, called this game extremely fun. Continuing the theme of game horror films, we go straight to the sample of this genre, the game, Sanitarium, and to its domestic version, Schizarium. The name speaks for itself. The psychological thriller quest sets the tone from the very beginning. The main character finds himself in a hospital for the mentally ill and painfully remembers who he is, where he is, and what is his mission in life. Many events happen in his head. The player travels with the main character through 13 quest chapters, solves various puzzles and tasks, fights monsters, and explores locations in the image of others' crazy and scary heroes. The game is for an amateur, but, interestingly, many people still play it. And now a little bit about the 1998 games, which were not so popular in mass terms, but had their loyal fans, connoisseurs, and supporters. Blood 2. The Chosen. There is a lot of blood again and again. The chosen heroes are ready to save the world. The continuation of the computer game, Blood, turned out to be quite good, although we know that the continuation does not always turn out better than the main story. The players were waiting for the famous hero Caleb, who opposes the villains, this time, the followers of a religious cult in the Cabalco Corporation. Just an excellent game. Petka and Vasily Ivanovich Save the Galaxy. A computer game on the Windows platform became the first game in the country released on as many as 3 CDs. The game has become a classic of a new genre, the Russian graphic quest, and even with an admixture of humor, just a rattling mixture. In the plot of the game, everything is mixed up, and the civil war and aliens in the village of Gadyakino. The heroes of the famous film, Chapayev, appeared to the viewer in caricature images, which many did not like, but we can't tell about this toy as a new phenomenon in the world of games and gamers in our review. Let's summarize the results of the 4th review, and talk about future releases. To be honest, while working on this video, we were amazed by the number of great games released in '98, and this is only the first part on this topic. In our opinion, it is obvious to everyone. This year there was a real creative surge in almost all branches of culture. By the way, you can find out about many of these events from the reviews by following the links in the description. Next week, the second part of the review will be released, in which we will talk about many other interesting games of this wonderful year, and we will soon start reviewing for 1999. See you soon, friends.